frightening.
Pumping water.
Wow.
In a major metropolitan area consumes tremendous amounts of electric energy. If you live in a high-rise building, the water does not flow up that high-rise building just from pressure in the supply to that building. It actually has to be pumped by individual electric pumps in those buildings up to the upper levels of those buildings. All of that is going to be lost in major metropolitan areas. Sewage flows. Typically, it doesn't always depend on gravity to flow. It has to be lifted and pumped at many and multiple locations around cities. Treatment of sewage has to be dependent on pumping, enforcing filtrations and things like that require a tremendous amount of electric power. In the August 2003 blackout, we can point to the city of Cleveland. They learned in that blackout that a new lesson that they didn't understand before that blackout. In other words, the electric utility for Cleveland told them, well, you don't really have to worry about loss of electric power supply across all of Cleveland. You as a water utility have 4 different intake plants for water into the municipal water supply, and they had never experienced a simultaneous outage of electric power to all 4 of those power plants, or all 4 of those pumping intake structures at the same time until August 2003. And as a result, they had never built their own dedicated electric power plants for that function. They thought they had redundancy against electric power concerns by building 4 separate intake structures, but when the entire power grid for Cleveland and most other places around Ohio and into the mid-Atlantic regions of the U.S. went out in that blackout, they learned otherwise, that they're quite vulnerable to large-scale blackout. We would have the same thing develop only in larger scale and not recoverable due to a space weather event.
Just 1 or 2 more questions before we close here. What happens to the environment, aside from everything shutting down? Does anything burn up if we had an EMP or we had a geomagnetic storm impact and shut down the grid? Does it ruin the air? Does it ruin the trees? Are there going to be fires everywhere?
Yeah, there could be some environment concerns. Ozone destruction is a problem during a severe geomagnetic storm. The heating of the upper atmosphere and radiation bombardment of surrounding space of Earth is a problem that could cause problems to our fleet of satellites that are out there.
And that's a whole other problem of protection, isn't it? That's a whole other. That's communication. That's defense. Yeah. That's all kinds of things.
That's right. There's lots of different things that we've grown immeasurably in dependence on without really understanding the underlying risks.
What about cars? I heard that the older Hummer was purposed, maybe it's the military Hummer, with a anti-EMP device so that it can continue to function even during an EMP burst. Is that still true?
Well, anything electronic, sensitive electronic, could be disrupted by the fast transient from an EMP. Now, that includes modern ignition systems and control systems in cars. We think the rate of failure would be relatively small, at least from the testing that was done for the EMP Commission. They had measured rate of failures of modern cars that something less than 10% of the total population. And that has to do with, how severe the field is, what the orientation of the car is, a lot of complex physics that goes into understanding all of these interactions.
But most of our cars will not be able to function, even if they have gasoline or water or hydrogen or whatever, because of the way they're set up with ignition systems.
I would say most of them would be okay for the initial blast. Probably you lose about 10% of your cars immediately. More problematic is ability to refuel the car. It could be, that you just have the use of the car to the extent of how much fuel you have in the tank at the time the power grid goes down. Because without restoring the power grid, the ability to restore pumping for fuel supply and resupply is going to be very problematic and logistically difficult to overcome in most of the major metropolitan areas.
I really want to thank you for joining us today. I have so many more questions for you. I know we said 1 hour today, and I really, really appreciate it. John Kappenman for joining us at It's Rainmaking Time. Will you do me the honor of coming back?
Sure, anytime, Kim.
We really, really appreciate it. God bless you, and thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.